2021 World Cup. Number 1 goes to ScoreTrack China.
My name is Simon. My actual name is Yang Hao Zhen. I happen to be one of the co-founder of ScoreTrack, and yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric, and that is my actual name. I was born in America, and I am also one of the co-founders of ScoreTrack.
I'm Max Homer. I'm a rising senior at the Wheeler School in Providence, Rhode Island in the US. And I came into ScoreTrack with absolutely no idea how to go about running a startup or a business, and basically just learned everything by myself with the help of Eric and Simon. So yeah, that's me and my story kind of.
So ScoreTrack is a mobile application that helps revitalize youth athletics. After doing a little bit of data research, market research, we've discovered that there is a very concerning trend in youth athletics from age groups for preteens all the way to high school athletics, and that participation rates for all sports have been continuously decreasing. And even though a lot of people have attributed this to, say, the rise of video games or the rise of mobile entertainment, this is actually not the case. Because we see in the richer demographics, people who are making $100,000 a year or more, the 1%, if you will, sports participation among those groups are actually increasing over the past few years, which directly contradicts any notions of video games rise or etc. The issue is, among the poorer demographics, youth sports participation is decreasing at an even faster rate. So this is really an issue about income inequality, and this is what our product aims to address. Our product is a product that, free for all athletes, allows anyone to showcase their talent to recruiters, to coaches, anyone. Regardless of age group, regardless of location, ScoreTrack is a social media-esque application that allows you to present yourself honestly to the world. So all of us have very big roots in entrepreneurship. Simon himself has started several ventures before, and me and Max, of course, have interests, and we have been related in work, either with Simon or outside of Simon, in this field as well. In regards to this particular venture, all of us are athletes in high school, and all of us are going to be graduating high school either this year for me or next year for Simon and Max. And therefore, all of us have gone through some notion of the sports recruiting process. Now, we are incredibly lucky, right? We come from a very good neighborhood. We come from a very good school. So the sports recruiting process relatively is very easy for us. However, with some of our friends who come from, say, private schools, it becomes even more opaque, even more difficult. So Simon, of course, has a friend who is in public school that's also actively trying to get recruited. However, reaching out to those recruiters, being seen, right, is incredibly difficult, even for us and even more so for them. And this was kind of the original issue that we observed when we first had the idea of this venture. The idea that even with a lot of connections, even with a good school, a private school in a good neighborhood, it is so incredibly hard to get recruited. So think about everyone else in public schools, everyone else in neighborhoods who don't have this many resources. This was the primary driving factor for this venture.
As for me, I started off pretty early on in my life doing business and making money. I guess moving, with that experience of starting a venture and making a profit, I realized there's a difference between being a businessman and being an entrepreneur. I guess the very main difference is about the impact that you really make. Being an entrepreneur to me is all about how you can make an influence on your community and on the people around you, especially positive influence, of course. Being an entrepreneur myself, the one thing that drives me going is what you do is much more important than how much you make.
Yeah, kind of to run with what Simon was saying, a big thing about entrepreneurship for me is precisely that impact. It's the need to sacrifice your time or being willing to sacrifice your effort for potentially no gain, just so you can see this venture through, just so you can potentially have this positive impact on others people's lives. It's that willingness to sacrifice. It's that willingness to pursue your passion, no matter what kind of cost it comes to either you or your team. That's, to me, is one of the quintessential aspects of an entrepreneur.
To add on to Eric, I mean, there's a huge risk factor, right? Like most startups don't even make it. And so you kind of have to be fearless and be willing to give everything for a venture that might not even make it, and then be prepared to do that again and again and again and again until you succeed. And so you have to have a certain drive and a certain want, to do that.
The way how we make sure that all of our qualities are good or are ready for SAGE is that we so this is similar to what I said in the national championship speech is that we didn't really start ScoreTrack for the purpose of participating in SAGE, but rather that we started ScoreTrack as a company or a project on ourselves. Is that so ScoreTrack was founded, I think, a year and 2 months ago, and we started looking into like finding out other tech company that we could work with, other foundations we could work with, going to colleges, high schools, doing all these market research, everything. Our standard was to make ScoreTrack an actual company. So I guess all of the standards that we keep up to is so that we can, so when we were doing the annual report, we're writing it as an actual annual report that companies in general would draft. And when we're doing the presentation, we were drafting the PowerPoint as an actual business plan, and we were presenting it as an actual business plan that we would do to some of our investors. So I guess with all these standards, and the previous work that we have done throughout the year, I feel like we were very honored to win this award. But this is something that we talk about on our own, is that we're it was reasonable that we won as a company that with all the work that we have put in and all the helps that we got. So yeah.
So all of us went to the same high school. I've graduated from this high school, but all of us went to a high school in Providence, Rhode Island, known as the Wheeler School. I believe Max brought this up in his introduction. And unfortunately, there aren't any active entrepreneurship classes or courses within the Wheeler School. I think all of us are mostly self-taught, or we've mostly just ran with it and used kind of common sense and logic, along with relying on each of us and our skills to kind of see us through this venture and gain that experience that way. Of course, all of us have some previous experience in entrepreneurship, so that experience helped all of us as we kind of grouped together as a team. There are, of course, a few clubs and a few student-run organizations that encourage entrepreneurship, but as to the courses, there aren't anything actually formal, which is quite unfortunate.
Working as a team, we all have different responsibilities. So I guess there's parts that are challenging. One of the things I'll say, funny enough, is when we were writing out the sustainable development goals. That was a funny one. So Eric is really good at doing editings and drafting all the SDGs and stuff, and he's absolutely awesome at writing, and that part made me and Max felt so bad about ourselves because we were just coming up with drafts, and none of them really met Eric's standards. But
I think that's like Simon brings up a very good one, a very good bottleneck for entrepreneurship. It's kind of the ability to trust in each other's work. It's the ability to delegate work and being able to trust that your teammates will do it. It's to alleviate some of Simon's concerns. I think a lot of the graphs you guys make are actually quite wonderful.
Since I'm in China right now for the summer, we end up have to working. We end up have to work together internationally, and a couple of weeks ago, in fact, I was texting this on my WeChat friend group as well. It's like 3-person, 1 team, 3 different time zones, and that was like that was, I guess, one of the hardest things, because we have to arrange meetings, and get out schedules, having as well as our app is gonna launch, I believe in 9 days, actually. Yeah. And all of those stuff, there's so much things that we have to do, but none of us is really together. And it's the summer, we all have our Eric just graduated, so it has been a lot. But the fact that we were still able to work with each other, that really, that's I felt like that was probably one of the biggest difficulties that we really faced throughout this entire competition.
I was about to say, just to conclude, I think that is the biggest difficulty a lot of these ventures face. It's that cooperation, right? I think this is one of the biggest bottlenecks. It's being able to work together even when it's not convenient. So for instance, all of us, so I believe the biggest time difference was 12 hours or 13 hours for all the time zones, which is rather crazy. I mean, we actively cannot actually police each other. We can't check in with each other's work. We need to be able to trust that if I say, ask Simon to get some data, he'll be able to get it to me without, me having to check in with him throughout the day, right? That's just not feasible. And I think that's just the biggest bottleneck for all these ventures. And I fingers crossed, I think that's one of the reasons why our venture has succeeded up to this point. It's because we have been able to do this as a team so far. And I'm just want to say thanks to Simon and Max for being such great teammates.
Aww.
I started off my first venture when I was in 9th grade, I would say, or probably even when I was in middle school. I was selling sneakers and stuff, and then throughout that experience, I did that for what we would call retail business for over, I say, 2 to 3 years, and that one venture again was relatively successful. Great experience. I don't really want to talk about it too much, but I guess that provided me with some of my business knowledge, and then as well as going to different conferences, sneaker conferences or internet conferences. For that previous venture, we as well developed a little program over WeChat, and then which is actually the company who helped us did that was Synthesis Technology, which is the company that's currently helping us co-developing our actual app. So alongside those venture experiences, it brought me knowledge in business, finance, and I think doing things is actually the greatest teacher.
And to add on to that, I feel like I'm certainly the most inexperienced one here. I've had a couple small ventures of my own that didn't end up working out. And so when I came into ScoreTrack, I had very little knowledge. And I think when you have very little knowledge, you have to accept that, and you have to be willing to learn. And that means be willing to ask questions, be willing to meet with people, to contact people, to get as much information as you can so that you can get up to speed. And that means using every single resource at your disposal, whatever it is, like Google. I Googled a ton of stuff. And yeah, as Simon said, like through trial and error, you see if it works or not, and then you know what the right thing to do is.
Absolutely. I think just to kind of round out this trio, what Simon said, that little quote of doing is the best teacher, that's especially salient for all of us. All of us being, I mean, although we're at different levels, honestly, all of us are pretty new to entrepreneurship. We all have a lot to learn. And of course, we've learned a lot through SAGE, and we'd like to thank SAGE for doing this. But of course, we've done a lot. We've reached out, we've made connections with entrepreneurs, businesses, companies, and we've learned from each and every one of them. Every time we set up a meeting with another entrepreneur or a CEO, we've learned new things about how perhaps we should restructure a business, restructure our program, et cetera, et cetera. And what Max said is particularly salient too. The phrase "I don't know" is particularly is very important because it invites the opportunity to learn. It shows that you're willing to open yourself up to learning and gaining more knowledge, right? And these two are kind of our fundamental principles: being able to learn while doing and being open to just saying we don't know.
And if anyone's watching this, or if any youth or young entrepreneurship are watching this, never take no for an answer. Just keep trying. Never take no for an answer. When we were reaching out to colleges, partnership companies, me and Eric, we used to make like 40, 60 calls during like one of our lunch breaks, and we would get so many notes. Some of them doesn't even finish listening to our proposal, and they just hang up. But you probably get one or two schools or one or two entrepreneurs, companies who would like to give us a minute or so for us to finish. And that's really, what we're driven for is we don't want to take no for an answer. And don't take no for an answer, and don't be afraid of failing. What's more important is how you deal with failures and how you can stand up and keep running even when you fail.
We're in our pre-launch. As Simon mentioned, we are going to be launching our app in a few days. Our next steps are going to just be this kind of outreach, reaching out to high schools, local schools and clubs, and colleges for the recruiters. In terms of our acquisition plan, we're going to start within our state. We're going to start within our communities, and then begin reaching out to, say, the region at large, and then the nation. And then, of course, the global community as well, as we reach out to different countries. But in terms of our acquisition plan, I'm not sure. I don't want to ramble too long about this. I don't want to get too far into detail, but we're going to be, reaching out. We're going to perhaps start an internship, and we might be starting to employ several people to be our outreach in different regions. And in terms of our financials, we're going to be starting our investment rounds relatively soon. Simon probably can allude a little bit more to that. And we're also going to be, formally starting all the paperwork, our legal department, all of that relatively soon as well. So after this competition, after the app launches, it's going to be at a pretty breakneck speed for us.
I mean, at least for me, my goal is to go to college. I kind of want more so, I guess, for really the college experience and connections more than anything. Academically, I've honestly no idea what I'm going to do, but for me, it's all about meeting people, meeting people who are excited to do new things, meeting people who are risk takers, meeting people who will, I feel like will succeed in life, because ultimately I feel like, if you can work with successful people, then you can be successful yourself. And so to be able to talk with those kids, to get to know them, to learn from them, I think is the real valuable experience of going to college, for me at least.
I mean, Eric is a college student now. Me and Max are both applying this year, and for me, I guess probably major somewhere in business or financial engineering, and then later on going to, again, entrepreneurship. I mean, I am already entrepreneur, and then that wouldn't change. Kind of keep carrying that on. Otherwise, I mean, being an entrepreneur is my passion. So I'm really grateful that I'm able to discover that early on in my life. I might try something else in my future. I might want to be I don't know. Want to I love eating McDonald's, so I might want to work in McDonald's sometimes. But that I don't know. That probably happens in the far in the future.
Yeah, I guess I'll answer myself too. I think my answer is going to be pretty similar to Max's. So I'm going to be going to college, and I think the main reason you would go to college is to make these connections with people that are driven in their relative fields and kind of want to pursue their passions in the same way you want to pursue your passions. I mean, we've all seen just how powerful making these connections are, just how fulfilling being able to talk with these sort of successful, driven people. So, I mean, why not continue that through college? Maybe we'll make some very powerful connections that way and be able to talk with people that, genuinely make us feel good and help us be successful in the future. Well, the most valuable thing, hands down, has to be the judges, and their comments and advice. Sage has helped us a lot in terms of solidifying our pitch, making sure everything we say is clear and coherent to people who are actually experts in this field of entrepreneurship and business. I mean, I remember just the panel for SAGE China. Unfortunately, I don't think we got to meet the panel of judges for the global competition, but just the panel for SAGE China was so diverse in their experience. There was one of the judges was like an expert in the SaaS business model, which is something that we're going to be that we tried to promote. Some of them are very successful global executives. So just being able to hear their advice and seeing that comment sheet helped us immensely in, editing our annual report, editing our business plan, and kind of having some next steps for, the future. So definitely the advice was very, very good for me.
Add on to what Eric said, I mean, we haven't had that many sort of mentors or teachers or anyone to tell us how to go about things. So to have the experience to meet, successful professionals who have something to say, advice to help us along our way is really a novel experience.
The opportunity to meet other SAGE members, that was really awesome. I wish that we were able to see some of the presentation of the teams in the global finals, but just seeing how creative and how motivated other SAGE members are, that also motivated us, and it was a huge drive for us to do better, as well as to expand our horizon a little bit, brainstorm in different industries or different fields.
I think this platform actually looks quite wonderful. So in comparison to Zoom, which we've used for school for the past, who knows how long, probably a year or so, this looks so much more aesthetically pleasing. This presenter function actually is quite wonderful because you get to see one person and you can focus on this one person. And in my opinion, it's a sight for sore eyes. Zoom has made virtual conferences very boring and very tedious, and this is a very nice change. So I personally like this.